Okay, it's a day later, and these have been soaking, and agitated them around a little bit. Brought my pan in from, I had it out in the bulkhead stairwell there, because I knew it was going to rain. You can see how much, still quite a bit left, but quite a bit of it has evaporated. And we're going to just use the pan here to keep from dumping this stuff all over my bench. Alright, get this smelly mess out of here. I know this one right here is like a perfect fit for these tiny holes right here, so the fact that I can't get it to go in without a little bit of resistance at first would tend to indicate to me that there is some buildup on these holes. The other obvious trick is you just hold it up to the light and sight through the hole. Alright, it's looking good. Alright, need a smaller size to get through there. That's the problem when some of these get really bent up, they don't want to work very well. Take a quick look to see with a magnifying glass if I could still see any residue on the tip here, and it looks pretty good. Give it a quick brushing just the same. A little rubber tip there on the float needle looks good too. And looks like all the buildup is gone on the pivot rod for the float. Alright, tighten this jet. Now I'm going to put this jet in. I'm going to take care not to over tighten this. This is just soft brass. Okay. Yeah, I'm more used to tractor carburetors than that. And typically the floats in those are more oriented where the floats hang down. So in other words, I've got the carburetor upside down. I'm used to them hanging down into the bowl like this. But this design on this carburetor, the floats actually go in this way. Also, this tab is bent at quite a significant angle, which I wouldn't have expected. But that may very well just be because of the different way that this float hangs. Let me get the pivot pin in, and we'll check the operation. Try and get an idea of where that's sitting. So what I typically do is, there the float's closed because gravity's holding it closed right there. And I typically sight along the bottom here and see if it's level. Interestingly enough, it's not. I don't know if you can see that, but my initial thought would be that this float is not set properly based on my experience with other carburetors. But because I don't know, I'm going to just leave it alone. I'm going to leave it the way it is and see how it works. If anything, this is going to cause the float to seat quicker. The way this is bent, it's going to cause the float to seat the needle and close the needle faster. Now, ideally, I would put a new O-ring in here if I had one, but I don't. Or I should say gasket, but it's a rubber gasket. And the bowl, it's pretty obvious the way the bowl goes on. There's even an indentation here for where this tube right here, this pickup tube for the choke circuit, or the start circuit, I guess would be a better better name for that. Oh, you look on the bench and you see parts laying around. It's nice when you spot them before you put it all the way back together. See if I can figure this out without having to resort to my videos that I shot during disassembly a month ago. There's only two possibilities here. It's clear to me this little metal tang right here goes up into this slot. So this fits this way. And there's a round cutout over here to accommodate the part where the float needle goes down its side. So it's either going to go this way, or if I flip it all the way over, can it fit this way? No. Okay, so there's only one way this can go on. So that goes like that. It's got 4 little holes in it here in this plastic cup. It almost appears to be like some sort of a diffuser. Oh, well, that's interesting. That makes putting the bowl back on a little bit more interesting because of this tube that's sticking out right here. You got to come in at just the right angle so that it fits down through that slot. There we go. That was the last of the spare parts laying on the bench, other than the choke itself and the mixture screw. Looks like all 4 screws are the same size. Alright, these float bowl screws, the heads are pretty cammed out. These screws have been on and off quite a few times in the lifetime of this carburetor. Which I'm pretty sure this is the original carburetor. No reason not to believe it isn't. So for a 1989 bike. Ah yes, the 1980s 2-strokes. The days of fouled plugs, flooded engines, smoke and noise. Alright, let's put the mixture screw in. I don't remember what this was set at. Wonder if I checked before I took it out. I usually lightly seat the screw, count how many turns it takes in to get to lightly seated, and then before I take it out, and then make a note of that. See, now I'm going to have to consult the video because I don't think I wrote it down. If I wrote it down, I usually would put the slip of paper in with these parts. I'm going to need a better screwdriver than that anyways. Well, I guess in the meantime, I could put this choke deal in. What the hell seats this? What the hell keeps gas from leaking out of this thing? Yeah, I would have really expected an O-ring or something there. Is there something missing? Or is it relying on this nylon nut and bushing here? Interesting. Well, if it leaks like a sieve, I'll know that either something's missing or that's worn. Look at that little noise at the end it made there, did that? That's clean. I'm going to cinch that up just a little bit. Good morning, everybody. It's Saturday morning, June. Oh, it's Father's Day. I know that. Forgot what date. Anyways, this isn't deja vu. The carburetor for the CR250 apart again. The reason why it's apart is because what ended up happening with this carb was I actually took this carb off, I think before winter started, so that I could put the bike away and have the carb in the basement to clean as a winter project, and I didn't get around to doing that until about probably about a month ago. I oh, actually over a month ago, I did the disassembly of the carburetor, and then I didn't get around to putting it back together and cleaning it until about a week and a half ago. And what ended up happening was the whole procedure of me taking the carb apart was such a short procedure that there wasn't really enough video to put an episode up. So what I ended up doing was I ended up holding off until I put it back together. So I did put it back together, but because I had put it back together so long after I had taken it apart, I had forgotten a couple of things. And when I was editing the video and putting it all up, I realized that when I initially took this carburetor apart, that I had seen some debris in this hole right here, and that I had tried to fish it out, and inadvertently I think even pushed it in further and made it worse. And at that point I had stopped and said, well, I'm not going to worry about it, because I was waiting until I found my security Torx to take these two screws out so I could remove this center piece right here inside there, because it appeared clear to me that that passage goes right over to that. Okay, so I figured that'd be the best way to clean that. So anyways, so I'll show you a quick little video clip of when I discovered this stuff, in case you guys had not seen it or forgotten about it, and then we'll get into getting this apart. So somewhere I had a whole set of these Torx security bits, as they're called, which it's a Torx type of bit, that star-shaped nose, but it's got a little hole in the center, which is what makes it the security style. But I hadn't used those in quite a while. I hadn't used those, I think, since probably the last time I was working. The reason why I bought those was for working on, I forgot what video game consoles back in the day used to use these, but occasionally we'd come across electronics like that needed these to open them up. So anyways, I couldn't find that set somewhere, and it wasn't really like a set in the case. It was just a plastic bag with a bunch of these loose in it. So I went to the hardware store yesterday, took this with me, and I wanted to get the right size here. And the interesting thing was that this is a T10, and it looks like it's going to work, but it's very sloppy in there. It's not a good fit. I'm kind of surprised. But we tried a T15, and the T15 was too big and wouldn't fit at all. So I don't know whether or not they actually make a size between a T10 and a T15, but either this is an odd size in between those two, or this is just really worn, which I would kind of find surprising if that was the case. But these screws aren't super tight anyways, so turns out this is working out just fine. Alright, so now with those two screws out, this center thing should be able to come out. Of course it doesn't want to, but those are blind holes. So I wonder if got something small enough that will go down in there, whether or not we can tap it out. I mean, those holes are really small. There we go. Okay, that's not moving. I'm going to take this center jet out. Well, that doesn't do anything for me. Well, I can see that the idle screw here protrudes right into that opening. So I'll take this out. Yeah, I can see a little bit of garbage down in there. Get my light. Well, interestingly enough, if I insert this all the way into this opening here until it stops, and I measure the depth that I insert this in, where it stops, and then I come out here and I do it, it almost appears like this should be, it goes through this, you can see this right here. It's right in here. It almost appears to go into here, but I don't see it, the point coming through here. Not only that, if I take my LED light, which is fairly strong, and hold it right up to here, and then hold my finger over the other end to actually help reflect the light back in, and sight right down there, I don't see any light at all. So if there's supposed to be an opening between the two, it's not evident. If there isn't supposed to be an opening, that begs the question, what the hell's the purpose of this boss? This passageway right here that appears to go over to this jet, okay, interestingly enough, that passageway has this brass plug in it. But I now see, aha, there's a port. There's a port, there's a port, there's a port, there's a port right in the side here. Okay, so there's a port right there. So what's happening here is, this is the intake side towards the engine. The vacuum of the engine pulls fuel up through this small jet right here, through this passageway, spits out right there and goes there. But why does this line, why is this designed so that this line goes way the hell down there? This one's easy. This one goes straight over to the choke circuit, or the, whatever you want to call this, start circuit. So it's interesting. I'm still tempted to get this thing out. It appears to me that to change the main jet size, to rejet this carburetor, that's what these screws are for. That this whole center section right here is the main jet size. So I still believe that that should come out, but it's just, I don't know if I'm missing something that's holding it in there, or if it's just really stuck in there. I'm tempted to put a little more force on it, but I'm also scared just a little bit. And there we go. Just needed a tap. Okay, now I broke it free, but before I take it out, I want to take a look and see how this is in here. Because if it goes in both ways, if it can be inserted in both ways, I want to make sure I put it in the correct way. Because sure enough, there is a definite way that that goes in. If you look in from the intake side, you can actually see the little wall there. If you look in from the air filter side, you can actually see that it's got an open, which is interesting. It's exactly the opposite of the way I would expect it to be. That's weird. Am I losing my mind? This is the side that goes towards the motor, isn't it? No. Yes? I think I've got this wrong. I think this is the intake. I think this goes to the air filter. Which really makes this a weird place to put this port. Alright. All I need to know is that the little wall right here faces the larger side. Yeah, this is the larger side's got to be the intake, because we want the Venturi effect, so we need the smaller side over here. No, wait a minute. The large... Come on, Steve. What the hell's wrong with you? Alright, so in other words, this little dam, so to speak, is facing the larger opening. And there's a little gasket there to boot. And that doesn't even have the jet in it. It just appears to be some sort of a retainer. So now, with that out, can I stick a probe? all the way in there? No. It still appears to be a blind hole. Kind of pointless hole. Well, if one were wanting to remove this jet, I wonder how the hell you get it out. I mean, it almost seems like it's pressed in there. And the funny thing is, you can't press it out from this side because I can see the size of this hole. Not like there's a step down there. Well, I can still see some crud down in there though, on the walls of this thing. So at least we can clean that out while we got it all apart. I think I'll finish my coffee before I start spraying this stuff.